Hello, I'm TonyJuliano. I run a small business called Excess Lounge. It's on 24th Street and 7th Avenue. Some of you know it. I know that many of you are my customers. I'm also the president of the Greenwich Village Chelsea Chamber of Commerce. We're a small chamber of commerce that handles we go from Canal Street up to 34th Street, from the Hudson River over to 3rd Avenue. So you know the area that we serve. And I just want to talk a little bit about the Chamber of Commerce before I get into this, because when we started Excess in 2004, I had never started that kind of a business before. I started a little consultancy. I was working on my own, but I never had a business with brick and mortar where I went on New York City Street and I picked out a place and we tried to turn it into something that we envisioned in our mind, into a little business that employed a bunch of people. And so we did that in 2004. And when we started that business, I got scared because the health department and the building department would come in and change, we did everything wrong. And then the fire department, I remember that first year after we were open a couple of months, we almost got closed down because we put a Christmas tree in the bar. The garbage collection wasn't working for us. I mean, we were paying, but they weren't picking up the garbage, and we were being cited constantly by the Department of Sanitation. It was one thing after another, and we felt totally isolated, totally on our own. We were just a little mom and pop kind of a business, and we were on our own in this big, huge city with so many external forces buffeting us, and we didn't know what to do. And we are an LGBT business, and we actually had a couple of instances late at night, 3 o'clock in the morning, 1 or 2 customers in the bar, myself sitting there, the bartender, people coming in, screaming at us, saying we didn't belong in the neighborhood. Call the cops come, but they don't do anything. And I felt complete, and I remember at one point, this guy came into the bar, screamed, faggots, where I'm gonna shoot you, I want this and that, the other thing. We called the cops. He was just ranting. And the cops came. They took him outside, they talked to him, they sent him on his way. He came back in, they said, he won't bother you anymore. It was terrifying, though, I have to tell you, like he was screaming. And he was insulting my customers, So he went on his way. As soon as the cops left, he came back. And he said he had a gun, and he said he was going to kill us. And it was all about being faggots. And the cops came back, they took him outside, and they sent him on his way. And when I was crazed at that point. And I came outside and I talked to the cops and I said, well, how could you possibly let him go? I'm frantic at that point. He said, listen, buddy. Do you see those curtains in your bar there? I said, yeah. He said, I could cite you for those curtains. And I'm sure if I went in that bar, I'd find 5 other things that I could cite you for. This was 2 cops. So I said, okay, I'm sorry. And I went back inside and I thought, oh my God, how am I going to ever survive in this city? So I thought, I've got to reach out. I've got to find a way to connect with other small businesses, seriously. And it's like, what do? I have to find a way to connect with other small businesses so that I'm not in this alone. And so I sought out what I can join, and I joined the Chamber of Commerce. And I also joined the 13th Precinct Community Council, and I also went to community board meetings, and I did all kinds of things. And I began to feel somewhat connected to the community. But when I joined the Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce wasn't focused on businesses like mine. They were focused pretty much trying to get like the big banks and the other things to give them money so that they can keep going. And I thought, this is not working for me, because I still felt somewhat disjointed from the rest of the community. Long story short, I decided, okay, I've got to step up and I'm going to lead this Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to focus it on the very businesses just like mine, the little mom and pops, the independent small businesses, not the chains, not the banks, not the insurance companies, the little mom and pops that are out there all by themselves, these little islands that are struggling and have no voice. Their voice is lost in the wind. And I thought, if we can do that, then we can all join hands can speak with one voice, and our voice would be a little stronger. So when I speak to you tonight about this healthcare bill, I hope you hear their voices, the voices of all the little mom and pops out there, because that's who I'm representing tonight. I don't care about AT&T, and I don't care about Verizon or Con Edison. I shouldn't say that because I think this bill is not good for any of them. And we can go into the reasons why. But let me tell you why it's not good for small businesses, and why, as our neighborhoods change and the character leaves them because there's a Gap and there's a Starbucks instead of a little clothing store or a little coffee shop or a hardware store. There's all the big hardware stores instead, the big chain. As that changes, these kinds of laws are one of the reasons why they're changing. So all we're doing is pushing out these little stores. Let me tell you about my bar and how this law will hurt it. Here's 12 of us that work there, 12. We're a teeny little business. I care so much about my employees. They care about me. We are, I hate to use it, it's trite, we are like a little family. But we are. We all have our own families, but we come together, we spend a lot of time together, we care about each other, we have each other's back, we care about this business, all of them, every one of them. Most of them have been with me since I opened the bar. I don't want to lose any of them. It costs, according to it costs 1/3 of a new hire's annual salary to replace a worker. So it's not only, I don't want to lose these people, not only because I care about them, but also it doesn't make good business sense to have policies in place that would create turnover, right? So, but I don't offer paid sick. I don't offer it. If they're sick, we have another way of handling it. Now, this is a bar, so we have waiters and we have bartenders and we have bar backs and others. And they derive their income in two different ways. From the salary that I pay them and tips. Now this bill, and the way we operate, if somebody's sick, and by the way, think about it. Do I want a waiter coming to work who is sick so that they can have a runny nose while they're serving my customers? Would you come to a bar that allowed that, or a restaurant that allowed that? Of course not. So I don't want them coming in sick either. So this is what we do. When an employee is sick, they call in, they say, listen, I'm not feeling well, and we arrange for them to swap their shift with another employee on another day, so that they don't lose any of their base salary and they don't lose any of their tip income. Their tip income is absolutely essential to their total income because it's more than their base, considerably more. It's how they pay their rent. So so they're able to do that. They don't have to worry about worrying about losing income if they're sick. And we not only handle their absences, their sick absences that way, but let's face it, we're a bar. So not everybody that works there that's their career. Their aspirations are some other things, like maybe they're an actor. I got lots of actors. I have 2 guys that are going to school. So one's trying to be a veterinarian, another one's a civil engineer. So I allow them to use this system to go on an audition, or to take a test, or to go to a special seminar, or something that's important to their future goals. And it works exceedingly well for us. Nobody comes in sick, so my customers aren't exposed to any viruses or germs. It doesn't cost me any additional money, and my employees don't lose any revenue. If this bill becomes law, I cannot allow them to swap shifts anymore, easy for you to say. Because I'll be forced to pay them for that day. So you don't want to put in a policy that would say, okay, I will give you a big bonus and allow you to swap your shift if you call in sick. So that doesn't make any sense. So I wouldn't be able to allow them to swap shifts anymore. And so what would happen then? Well, first of all, when they called in sick, they're going to be worried about losing the bulk of their income. And they are going to think twice about calling in sick. And so they might actually decide that they'll come in and try to come in. Now, we'll have to be very vigilant about, making sure that when they come in that they're not sick, because they're going to lose income that they currently don't lose today in this system with paid sick leave. And that is very problematic for us. It'll cost us more money, a lot more money, because we're going to have to hire replacement workers. If you're in a company with 100 people, so you're in an office with 100 people, if somebody calls in sick, it's nothing. You're covered. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to hire somebody to replace that person that day. But if you're in a small little mom and pop business like mine, you have 10 employees, 7 employees, 10 employees, 15 employees, 20 employees, once some person's out, you've got to replace that person with somebody else. You've got to find a way. So it's going to cost me more money. I have to pay them, and I have to pay somebody else to do their job. All right, so that's the crux of the issue for businesses like mine. But let me go a step further. I am not greedy, and I am not any different than most businesses. They all understand the importance that their employees have on their business, how important employees are on their business, particularly the small ones. So what I try to do is I look at my business model and what kind of business I'm doing and what I can afford. So I provide an employee health plan. And I tell my employees, if you step up and buy the health care for yourself for 1 year, I will pick it up in subsequent years, and I'll pay 100% of it every other year that you work for me. And so right now we have 5 employees on that plan, and I am paying for 100% of the health care for 4 of those employees. It costs me thousands of dollars every single month to pay that health care for those employees. But I care about those employees. I want them to stay in my business. I don't want them coming to work sick. And that's the model that we use, and they love it. If this plan comes in, my employees are going to think twice about calling in sick, and they might actually come in sick because they're going to lose revenue, and I might have to do away with that particular benefit. I might have to do away with the health care benefit. So tell me how this helps employees like mine. And I'll wrap it up, and we can talk about San Francisco and Seattle and Washington, D.C. and Connecticut, because I'd love to talk about them. When those employees, when we talk about 1 million employees, I'm not buying that number of employees in New York City that don't have health care. But you're talking about hundreds of thousands of employees. They're including in that number hundreds of thousands of employees just like mine that are in the exact same situation that my employees are in when they're saying there are 1 million employees that don't have paid sick leave. They have this kind of arrangement. This industry is very, very big in New York City. So keep that in mind, because there'll be hundreds of thousands of people that right now have no problem that will now have a problem with this